So for our final session today, we are going to talk with two incredible leaders from the Washington Post. Vineet Khosla, our Chief Technology Officer, and Anjali Iyer, who is our Global Head of Subscriptions. So today we're going to talk about the reinvention story of the Washington Post. And really the growth agenda that has been driven out of that reinvention story. So we're here with, a technologist and an innovator, and someone who is charged with growing the business through subscription. So it should be a very, very interesting conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. So maybe, Anjali, let's start with you and the topic of growth. So tell me a little bit about your background, how you came to the Post. I know you've been around for 3 years and owning a very, very large remit, big responsibilities. And then also tell me about the growth mandate that you're carrying.
Yeah, happy to be here. So prior to coming to the Post, I've been at the Post for a little over 3.5 years. I was at Marriott and part of Starwood integration and the launch of Marriott Bonvoy. And really, that's where I learned what loyalty really means and how people connect with brands. And before that, I was with JP Morgan Chase, and that's where really I learned the discipline of, data and insights and customers, but at the end of the day, revenue is what matters and how you link the two. So really, this is kind of the discipline that I bring to my role here at the Washington Post.
Yeah, that's fantastic and very critical, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Vineet, do you want to talk a little bit about how, in your role as CTO, obviously your background is incredible with Uber and Apple and Siri, but you're bringing Silicon Valley into the Washington Post. Interesting shift of mindset there. But how are you and how are you supporting and enabling the growth agenda at the Post?
Yeah. Someone's watching TV over here. I am so distracted. We're supposed to have keynote, but there is actually the TV show running over here. I'm sorry about that. But no, I started in Apple. I started in Siri. We started that app 2007, 2008, sold it, started this whole conversational AI generation, went over to Uber, did a bit of a side route and made maps for them. And then I came back over here at the Post. And one of the main reasons is this is such an exciting time to be here, right? Like I know a lot of in our industry feels like not an exciting time for grow. But when I looked at this a couple of years ago before starting at Post, it was like, well, what's going to matter the most in this world of AI is great original content, right? So that became my focus, my mission. And when I came at Post, it's like, what can we build fresh, brand new, and experience something for the audience that gives us an opportunity to grow beyond what the traditional mode has been for last 20 years. So looking at that growth angle, I joined the Post over here. Sorry, there was another question in there, Mar, that I missed.
I think you, generally it's about how are you enabling that growth mindset?
It's a lot of new products, right? Like just build, put stuff out, look at your data, see how the audience responds, have an instinct, and give opportunity for Anjali to have a differentiated product to grow and sell out of it.
Yeah, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what those products are, obviously, and how they're coming to market. So maybe for a moment, a couple of questions. Let's talk about this reinvention of the Post, which is really a big theme inside the organization, and we certainly feel it, and we're definitely living it. Maybe Anjali, to start more broadly, what do you feel are still the biggest challenges in media today?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenges with media today, and we really are all grappling with it, is because the traditional inputs to revenue have completely changed, right? So if we start with trust, our latest research, You Look Anywhere, shows that US consumers today coming to news sites has dropped significantly, almost by 20 percent points since 2017. And so how do we then get consumers to come visit us, show them the value? It's just not about clicks. Get that brand value in them, give them a reason so they trust us and come back again. Then the second one is discovery, and Vineet can talk a lot more about that. And again, if you look at the data, 38% have already started adopting AI. And the traditional metrics, when we look at search metrics, they've dropped significantly, like 64 million Axe users reported. That has dropped down this year alone. But on the same side, when you look at AI traffic, that's only 5.5 million. So what that really tells us is that the traditional search that used to come to all of us is dropping significantly than, the new pathways are growing. So that also opens up, like, what does discovery really mean for me from a monetization perspective? What are the surfaces we should show? What the experience should be? And how do we all make it authentic? It should be organic and not natural and not transactional. And the last one is really important, which is first-party data. Cookies are going away, privacy rules, if anybody is dealing, every day there is a new state law. How do we cope up with it? It is becoming a real challenge. So within our ecosystem, wherever we have an opportunity, whether it is existing subscribers or customers just coming to sample us or registration, how do you take all of these things together? And honestly, if these three things, trust, discovery, and first-party data come together, we think we can be successful.
Yeah, that's great. Vineet, would you agree that those are the critical sort of challenges facing media right now?
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely the challenge we have to deal with every day. But one thing I like to do is zoom a level out, right? And the way I have been thinking about this is there are three things we do. There is the creation of the news, there is the distribution of the news, and there is consumption, right? There are three things that happen. And every time you have a big technological shift, printing press, internet, mobile, you see two of those three change. It just changed how you created news, right? Printing press did it. Consumption patterns, mobile and internet happened, and it just changed it. Distribution absolutely changed. Nobody needed physical anymore. So now when we zoom out and look at AI, and we again put the paradigm of creation, distribution, consumption changed first, okay? This is why I think we are in problem, because in all the other shifts, either the creation changed or the distribution changed, and then the people's consumption pattern changed. In the world of AI, overnight, it went ChatGPT, right? Overnight, people started asking their question, making their own articles per se, right? So because the consumption changed first, we didn't catch up. And that, I think, is the challenge, is we still have that producer mindset, that what we are producing is what people are wanting, versus people have gone so much on the other side and said, like, no, I want my personalized stuff that is very proactive and talks to me, and we haven't caught up. So we got to fix that, right? Like, and everything I see today in all the presentations and all the discussions I had, like, we are all getting to the point where we are saying, no, we got to change this production part now.
Yeah, that's really an interesting point. And by the way, just an observation, your commentary is all about the user and sort of user experience, and your commentary is about building toward that user experience from the inside out. And I think they're very complementary. So no wonder you're working well together.
Yeah, it's a natural intersection, right, of customer experience and product and monetization.
Mm-hmm. So this is sort of the landscape that you're living in, right, at the Washington Post. This is sort of the why. Why reinvent? What is the big problem statement we're trying to solve for? So let's talk about this reinvention, right? What's happening with this reinvention right now, Anjali? What are you charged with, and what part are you taking in that?
Yeah, so I think reinvention agenda, and I'll just echo Vineet's words, is all about how do we think about the future today? How do we make the decisions now so we are ready? What we don't want to do is what happened in the publishing era, many decades ago, is we were trying to catch up, and what we ended up doing, our product is just a replica of newspaper, right? And so how do we make sure we are moving in tandem with the customer, understand what technology they are using, why they are using, what experiences do they need, and that's why Vineet's team is so important. They're building the technology and the experiences so that we can stay ahead. And there are some things that are good. Like, for example, like AI cannot really disrupt WPI intelligence that we have built, because that's all about individuals interacting, getting our expert data, reports, and analysis. AI cannot replicate that. But on the other hand, we are also leveraging AI, where Vinny just spoke about how do you take content more to a story level with different multimodal formats. So I think that is what reinvention really means. Walk with the customer and the technology. Do not fall behind.
Yeah, that's really, really great points. Vinny, anything to add to that?
I know when we were talking earlier, you said, don't say audience first. I think everybody here has heard the term audience first. We got to write and build for the audience. But on the reinvention agenda, I actually think, as shocking as it might be, it's about audience first. Like, this is the product we are making. The good thing that we have on our side is we have the core of the journalism, and we should never get confused that when we build a product for the modern audience and we say this product is for audience first, that in any which way we are compromising that, right? We still have the trust of the people. So in this reinvention agenda, it's almost like, imagine you're trying to transfer people from one plane to another. So this is how I view my mandate is, there was a plane flying where all the trust was on the masthead. It was in the institution, right? And now that trust is transferring. Creators are taking a big part of it. The relationships people will build with their AI are going to be so deep and so trustworthy. These AIs are getting people to do terrible things to their lives, right? So the way I see it is in this reinvention agenda, like somehow we got to move the audience to a modern experience on Washington Post with AI, what they need, and never let them jump from the masthead plane to somewhere else, but get them back to us on this different plane that we are building.
So let's dig into that a little bit, right? And I'm sure you have some more detailed thoughts around this. But when you say AI and audience first, and candidly personalization as extension, tell me a little bit more about what you mean by that.
So going back to Joe's slides from the morning, audience 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 2.0 personalization is give me my feed, give me the articles that I want to read, and then it becomes an echo chamber and people say like, oh my God, you guys are not, reading everything. So the personalization that happens in the AI world is going to be very different, right? For a minute, imagine how silly it is to assume that a journalist wrote one article and 100 million people read it, and they had no questions about it. They had the full context about it. No point of that article, they went like, I wonder about X, I wonder about Y. They didn't deviate. That is what I mean by personalization, is the article almost becomes the starting part of the journey, and now you got to take the audience in their exploration from it, right? So in the future, I don't think any, like 90% of people, when they consume journalism, it will be on their terms, almost rewritten using an AI, because I asked series of 7 questions, and now, the other day, I was curious, my son is 7-year-old, and he was like, Dad, I want Nintendo Switch 2 because everybody in my class has Nintendo Switch 2. And I'm like, one, that is a lie. Not everybody has Nintendo Switch 2. But I did know
They also have
that
PlayStations.
they have PlayStations?
Yes.
All right. Now he wants the Switch too. And I knew we would have covered it, right? So I went to ask the post and I said, okay, tell me about parental controls. Tell me, is it appropriate? It was like, oh, it has game chat. And I'm like, can I turn off the game chat? And I was told like, well, you cannot turn off the game chat as a parent. So using 7, 8 questions, I ended up making a news article for myself. Right? That's what I ended up doing. And I really wanted to hit the share button and send it to all the parents in the WhatsApp group and say, your kids are lying to you. They're not getting Nintendo Switch, right? But this is what I mean by personalization is this is the world we're going to live in. What our newsrooms write is almost going to be the grounding layer. It's the factual layer. Everything will be built on top of it. That's what gives us the advantage. But the consumption side that's going to happen on the other end with the users, it is going to be completely journey-driven.
Are you suggesting that you, Washington Post, should be anticipating what the reader wants to ask next?
Yeah, and some of the examples you saw from Matt earlier in the day, when we are in an article, we go, oh, that part's confusing, we didn't explain it. let me go ahead and put a prompt over there, so if there is a user who comes in and they're confused, they can ask for it, right? Or we just give them the button right there to ask the question and then go back to the main article. But it's just that journey, what I mean is like the producer mindset, the distribution mindset. Like we write once and it applies to 100 million people. In hindsight, of course that is silly, right? Like how did it ever scale in the first place? Now people have choices.
Right. This is your, pick your own or choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And highly personalized experiences based on sort of anticipatory, dialogue based on first-party implicit data.
Right.
Right? Really cool. So let's talk about how we make money doing this. Let's move from the reinvention agenda to the revenue agenda. Anjali, let's kick this off with you. Let's talk about diversification of revenue, leveraging all of this sort of background on, why the Post has to change, what we're answering for media. How are we changing?
Diversification really means two things, right? It's both about audience, as Vineet just said, and about value. So traditionally, publishers have just thought about two growth engines. One is subscriptions and the other one is ad. But really what you're trying to do is force the customer into making a choice that they may not want to. You're saying, hey, I don't care what you want, but this is what I have to offer and you have to bind by it. And as Vineet has been talking about it, customers have changed. That's not what they really want. So if you look at this particular pyramid, we are broadening at the base, but then we are also very much focused on the top. So at the base, at the very foundation, what we are doing is really investing in discovery and distribution because we want to reach all of America and everybody and meet them where they are, but then bring them back into our own ecosystem. And that is really very important, right? You want to bring them back. And when you bring them back, you have to make sure that you are addressing the needs that they have, which is why we have something called as flexible access that we are experimenting, giving customers a choice. Not everybody is ready to commit and buy a subscription. Somebody just wants to read one article. So give customers the choice. And, some of them do want a subscription. So we have subscription products with different benefits, and they use that. And then at the top of the pyramid, we have WP Intelligence, right? And that's where you have richer experiences. You have seats and councils and, very deep insights and reports and discussions with leaders around the world. And so through this pyramid, you can see how we are trying to broaden the base, but also not forget that personalized, rich experience at the top. And this is how we make money. And really, the strategy is very simple. As it says on the slide, it is diversify your customers, but then also make sure you diversify the products, because that's how you make money.
Yeah, and this resonates, and I'm reminded of an INMA study that I read about recently where 44% of media companies said that revenue diversification is their number one challenge right now. So obviously, you're solving for that. I have a follow-up question on this. How much are you using first-party data to determine which offer to make to which subscriber?
So right now we are testing, and Vineet's team is actively going to make that happen for me next year. So we are really testing. It's not about so today everybody knows paywall, right? So it decides whether you give a page view or you give a reg wall, which is registration, or a paywall, you're ready to subscribe. But we really want to take that and make it so sophisticated that it knows that Vineet is great for a WP Intelligence product, but Anjali is really cheap. She just wants pay per article, and that's what we're going to serve her. So it's all about optimizing revenue and making sure all those signals are ingested so the model can make that decision for you. Take the guessing game out.
Right. And then I'm assuming there are retention strategies that go with that, because you're going from an acquisition strategy to retention and sort of this term of forever subscribers, ultimately down the loyalty chain.
Yeah, and if you even look at the pyramid, right? I have a very complex pyramid that I actually use, but you can go from like flexible access to a premium subscription, or from a premium subscription, you can go to WP Intelligence. And we also have B2B, right? We've not spoken about that, but there are different verticals in the B2B that have enterprise subscription, licensing, higher ed, WP Intelligence. And so even from higher ed, you can go to directly a subscription. So it's all about making sure you are engaging them, and that's where personalization comes, serving the right content, the right features, getting them involved with the app, using all the features that Vineet's team is building, Ask the Post, comments, engaging with all of that, and then that you soon then see the value, right? You don't have to if you do the things right, you don't have to make an effort to show the value and then push them down the cancel flow path and then get them there.
Right, exactly. Obviously, you're owning your audience. So on the cancel path, we've all seen metrics like 17% of users who disable auto renewals right after subscribing. How do you tackle this challenge, especially with sort of a diversified product base?
Yeah, so I mean, this really goes back to customer choice. We really have not given customers a choice. And Piano also actually has two very important stats that says 13% actually cancel on day one. And so, and 40% actually cancel within 60 days. And that's really signaling that what the customer expectation is and what we are delivering, there is a very big, wide gap in there. And so we want to give customers control over their choices. And they have actually been asking for choices for a very long time. They're like, oh, I just want to read this article. I take example of my son. While I was at Marriott, he used to do a lot of debates. And we have great articles, in politics. And he would be like, I can never read Washington Post because of the paywall. I wish I could just pay for this article and read it. And so that is what we want to do, give customers choices. And then there will be customers who actually want a subscription. And so we offer them that.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, you're building trust along the way,
Yeah.
and hopefully loyal subscribers.
Yeah, and another thing I want to add is, people would say, well, why now? Or this has been tried before, and we have failed, right? And that's true. Companies like Bendel have tried it in 2016, and many others. I have spoken to, FuSense, Axate, and SuperTab, and they're all building that technology of micropayments. So I really think this time around, the market is ready, the technology is there, and the time is right.
Awesome. I'm going to ask you one more question related to this, and then we'll go back to technology, Vineet. How are you, Anjali, thinking about flexible access of premiumization within B2C subscriptions to meet audience expectations?
So if you look at the bow tie, on the left side of the bow tie, it's, reach, audience, awareness. How do you build those habits and then ultimately get them to either subscribe or make a transaction, whether it's pay per article or day pass or week pass or event pass or whatever we have to offer. And then continuing down on the right side of the bow tie again is deepening those relationships and then more for more, right? How do you take somebody from a flexible access product to a subscription or from a subscription to a WPI intelligence product? And keeping this in mind, this is why we actually invested in the premium product. On April 30th, we launched extra accounts. Basically, what that does is you can gift three extra access to anybody in your friend and family. And that builds a sense of community if you think about it. You're sharing articles with the closest of your family members. And we ourselves are then, expanding that relationship and engaging customers in many more ways. And for the people who really are, still new to us, don't know us, they don't know if, we fit in their lives or how we fit them, you give them other options like flexible access. And so I think this is how you continue to grow through the bow tie.
And it's interesting because we really didn't plan to talk about data and metrics in this conversation, but I'm curious, are you able to begin to measure lifetime value?
Yes, so we always measure lifetime value. We measure it for every single product, whether it's during a sale, during a non-sale, that's how we abide by, and that's really what powers our smart metering paywall.
Excellent. Vineet, how do you, as a technologist, support this diversification strategy?
We will all take a shot when I say audience first. No, it's the same thing. Like when you give audience a choice, you know how they want to pay for it. Step one is you have to build a technology where it is seamless, right? So you think about the audience again and you say, people want to do casual payments. Is my system set up? Is my software set up? That's the only easy part. And the very interesting thing that Anjali pointed out is the timing now is very right because Apple Pay and Google Pay and all these other things have shown that microtransactions are frictionless. There's one or two clicks. You don't expect more than that. So we build a technology layer where we can do universal wallets. We can, they click once, we put $5 in their wallet, they read 5 articles, maybe they come back 6 months later when we cover something. And we build that platform for the growth team to use, and then they get to expand on that and let their imagination loose and create whatever type of subscription plan, casual plan they want to make. You can imagine Olympics is going to happen. Somebody just wants an Olympics pass, or you can imagine a little bit morbid, but somebody might have wanted a government shutdown pass, like just you're interested in a topic, a coverage, a time event. Let's do it.
Yeah, great. I want to shift gears ever so slightly and talk a little bit about, how all of this kind of affects or potentially impacts ArcXP. So as we all know, or maybe we don't all know, ArcXP sits inside the office of the CTO at the Washington Post. So Vineet is very much, very, very closely aligned with our business. So Vineet, my question for you is, or my first question around this is, what are your thoughts? Share with me what you think ArcXP's role is in this broader transformation of the Washington Post, and more specifically, inside your org.
Yeah, this is a very interesting spot to be because I'm a customer of ArcXP as CTO of Washington Post, but I'm also in charge of ArcXP, right? So it gives me
So that's a double conflict of interest.
double conflict of interest, or if you guys have heard that famous country song, "I'm my own grandpa," I'm a customer, but I'm also producing it. So one of those two. But it does put me in a spot where it forces my brain to think very differently, right? Like it gives me a philosophical edge on it and say, like, what does this mean? And what I've realized in the 2 years I've been here, and a lot of you guys in this room have been building ArcXP for 8-10 years. A lot of you guys have been customer for longer. This whole aspect, it is for us by us, right? Like we built it for the Post, we brought it to the outside world, and we hope it really helped a lot of newsrooms survive and thrive, right? But at the same time, what people outside were wanting to do, we ended up building those type of features, so it made us better. So I almost feel it like, there is like a lifeblood type going on where we are invigorating the peer industry, the industry is invigorating us, and I just feel so lucky that we have this product and we at Washington Post have access to ArcXP, which lets us contribute back and take a lot of learning ends. And I feel like for our industry, we should, celebrate that as a good thing, right? As Matt Monahan always says, we got skin in the game. That is very real. So I don't know if I answered your question more about like how it helps, but I think it's kind of like it lifts all of us together. We are really in this.
How do you think that translates to what our customers might someday see?
Well, one, I believe in surprise and delight, so I won't tell you too much about experimentation, Mar. But you guys can assume, take your shot, audience first. So a lot of the experiments we are doing are about consumer experiences, right? And we build an AI team. We are building on top of Llama. We build a platform team. We build a solid architecture. And our goal is to essentially open up all of our company and say, go experiment with AI, go build product features. Anjali, what do you need? You go build product people, newsroom people, everybody go, like everybody look under your chair. You get AI, you get AI, you get AI. So that's the approach I'm taking at Washington Post is like literally everybody gets AI, come surprise me next day. So I don't know 6 months from now what will hit with the audience, what will not hit with the audience, but I guarantee you like we will keep pumping product features after product features out, and then Anjali has to just make sure we find the right audience and they pay for it, right?
Absolutely. I'm all about money.
Let's talk about culture and collaboration between your teams and in the Post. How does experimentation support that and harness that? Anjali, I don't know if you want to take that.
Yeah, so I think experimentation is really important, right? But it has two pillars that you have to abide by. One is curiosity, and the second one is measurement. And both of them have to work in tandem with each other, otherwise, it's not a success. And so, what do I mean by curiosity? I think we have to build teams that want to experiment, test, fail. Progress over perfection is something we talk about a lot in our teams. It doesn't mean you have to build a perfect experiment all the time, because then you will never go fast. But how do you build experiments that are, you are curious about that, you have the hypothesis, but you can test quickly and learn from them. But curiosity alone is not enough, right? You need a discipline of measurement, which means you need to define what the success metrics are, what are the guardrails, when do you need to actually walk out of that door, because you may need to walk out of that door. So make sure there is alignment from the teams. And then what that does, it gives the teams permission to experiment, be faster, and be ready to fail, because I think it's important to fail too. You should not succeed all the time. That means something is wrong. You should fail because you learn from failures. And so I think if you have a healthy balance of curiosity, measurement, and alignment across growth and product team, then we learn a lot. And we really experiment a lot at the Post.
Yeah, that's great. Vineet, I don't know if you have anything to add or if there's a more direct example of how you're currently partnering. I mean, we've already heard several examples this afternoon, but
yeah, Anjali and team, they're like the domain experts, right? Like they're the subject matter expert who come up with great ideas. So we partner very closely. The way we function is on the tech side, for all experiments, you need a good A/B system, a good metric system, a good reporting system. So that goes without saying, right? Like make sure those type of systems are built. But we have like a very open and collaborative engagement, right? And I love that because as we create new products, you need all parts of the company to get involved. Then you provide a really good foundation and then let loose.
Yeah, and really critical is measuring, right? Obviously, you can experiment, but there has to be some results at some point.
Yep.
Okay, great. So let's talk about maybe some words of wisdom to maybe land this plane, as Matt Monahan would say.
I should leave?
Some words of wisdom. I'll start perhaps, Vineet, with you. Let me ask you a question that you can respond to. What's the one bold move that you challenge the industry to take in 2026 to stay relevant?
That's a hard one because I know we all have to do a whole lot. But if there's one bold move, I would say broadcast is dead. One article for 100 million people, that doesn't work. Broadcast system is dead. So my challenge is, that's the bold move. Let's get out of that thinking.
Interesting. We're going to open it up for questions in just a minute. But Anjali, let me ask you your words of wisdom question. If you were sitting in this same spot next year, what would you want to have proven or changed in your respective domain?
So I think I would love to say that we built something for customer, because I'm all about customer first mindset, that we've built products and experiences, and that too modern experiences with the tech in tandem with the way the technology is moving. And what we have built actually shows us more about the future and not the past. So we are moving in tandem. And I would like to say maybe, we have been bold. We followed the customer, not just did what everybody is doing traditionally in the industry, and we made a big bet and we proved it.
Fantastic. All right, great. Marissa, do we have 5 minutes for questions?
We do.
Awesome. So we'll open it up to the floor if anybody has any burning questions for Vineet or Anjali.
I guess with all of the potential and possibilities that AI affords us, how do you go about choosing the things to focus on?
On our side, what we did first was understand that we have to build a scalable platform for AI, right? It only works if everybody has access to it, and it's not like a special thing that's sequestered away for one team and no other team can touch it. Once we did that, prioritization becomes easy. Right? Then every team can take over. They can look at what their business is, their use cases, and decide whether to do it or not. It doesn't become centralized under tech. And that's, if there are techies in the room, like that's one thing I will tell you is you have to make it cheap and easy for people in your company to adopt it. If you truly want to see the difference it makes to your business.
How you doing? So everyone's talking about AI. I'm curious, like, what's your success rate on AI? Because everyone's talking about AI. Everyone's like, you sprinkle this magic thing on anything, and it just does good. But we all, at least I know, it takes a ton of people, a ton of resources. There's a lot of failures. So I'm just curious, like, what actually is your success rate, and like, is it actually helping, or is it more of a cost center at this point?
Yeah. I would ask, what do you think is the success rate of internet? Right? And the reason I ask that provocative question is because I don't think we should be looking at ROI of AI based on the traditional product that we have been putting out. It is the point of this thing is to unlock something for you that did not exist before, right? When we build Haystacker AI, which looks at 2 weeks of videos that came from security footage, and a reporter can, in like 20 minutes, ask it a bunch of questions and craft a story out of it, that's your ROI, right? So think less about what traditional metrics you have and then what can be replaced, but I urge you to think like, what can you build new with it, right? Efficiency notwithstanding. But either ways, our success on AI has been pretty high. And this is Gen AI on classical AI. If you start differentiating it, classical AI like deep learning, smart metering models and all the advertising stuff, that's straight line tied to $1, right? With Gen AI, you get into a little bit product discovery territory. I think for the next 2 years, I don't know what will be the value of AI. It is, the way I give this example is when mobile phones were invented, nobody at that day said, oh, Uber will exist. But Uber cannot exist without the GPS and the accuracy of mobile phones and the ease of it. So the products that will make your company great with AI, we have probably not made them yet.
By the way, this is great, thank you. Thinking about the last session about App Advantage, how are you thinking about your app strategy when thinking of audience first and monetization, and where do you see that going for you?
So I'll let Vineet add, but I really think app, again, when we talk about direct relationship and advancing the funnel, app is all about upper funnel. We should be encouraging customers to download app, but we have to give them reasons. What are the product reasons for them to download the app? Why can't they just go directly to the site? And I think this is where Vineet's team is building all the technology, the functionality, and features that actually say, hey, if you come to the app, you get these XYZ features, and it's valuable to me. And then it is my team's job to then push the adoption, make them come back to the site and let them, subscribe or flexible access or pay or, just look at articles as they want.
Yeah, app is, we are focusing a whole lot more on app, right? And everybody should be doing it because that's the audience. When they come to you, you have a shot at building a habit and a relationship. Like Anjali said, we build products like Ask the Post now is in a voice mode. So you can just have like a conversation with it instead of typing to it. And it's actually a very different AI because we don't just read out what you type. when you get into the conversational mode with Ask the Post, the answers will be very different if you had asked the same question with typing. Because conversationally, we do different things. We pause differently. We have different intonation. So you start building these product experiences and you start locking the users into a healthy habit with you. And you cannot do that on the web, right? Like web will always be good for anonymous, and we need it. We need both sides of the story, right? You need a really good website where anonymous users can come in and they can be intrigued enough and driven to download an app. But man, it is hard in today's day and age to get anyone to download an app from scratch.
You talked a lot about AI and the OLAS projects. Of the things that you have implemented, have you seen a change in the post of what can we expect when those things come to air? Some of the new applications or some of the new features. And that's one part. And how are you and how advanced when we had the gentleman talk about the banner and so on? I thought it was very interesting. And how are you connecting the data? What is your experience around that, and what is what are the results that you've seen so far? I know it's an early stage, but anything that you've seen. Thank you.
Yeah, I can talk about the products. Right? The way we think about it is AI has created a new series of products, like the whole Ask Engine and all those experiences, and you have to go get the audience for it. A lot of our audience is still more traditional audience, but we have found a core in our group for whom this has become a daily habit, right? Like people who are using Ask the Post very regularly. There was another example we showed earlier around comments and conversations. All publishers, I realized, hate comments because it's like a cesspool of hatred. Once we started using AI to clean it and moderate it, you start to see people use this as a discovery mechanism. People look at the comments, they look at the AI summary, and they go like, okay, this is something interesting. The group is divided. People have opinions. I want to go in and read for myself. So it's not like we used AI for the sake of AI. It's about the product, right? The product we were trying to fix is our comments are pretty unhealthy. And by the way, I want the subscribers and the audience we have to have a good experience on our site, not be hateful, not feel neglected, but they want their voice heard. They want to contribute back. So that's how we went. AI is an afterthought of how to solve the problem. You could do it manually. You could hire thousands of people and keep your comments and conversations clean. It won't scale. AI comes in. So that's the lens mainly over here. You create a bunch of new products, and you figure out what's the audience for that, and you double down. You look at the problems you have, you solve that problem. If AI helps solve it, great. If it doesn't, move on, do it some other way. And in terms of data, what was the second question is like, are we tying the first party data? We are collecting first party data. We haven't, I think, connected too deeply with the rest of the business right now, because I think it's a little bit early stage, right? And as I said, like a lot of our audience is still not the ChatGPT generation, right? Like you go to the ChatGPT generation, they are not natively on Ask the Post or Washington Post. So we have a lot of work to do to come there. But I do believe this will be so rich data, especially in the world of advertising, because you understand the intent of the user, right? Like you really, really deeply understand what are the things they're curious about, what they're asking about. And you can start to cater your product experiences around it. I think it will be more powerful than anything we have ever seen. And from what I've seen in my side, like there is so many ad companies spinning up, which are talking about this, like the agentic ad networks. People are quite aware that this will be very deep and rich data.
Anjali, do you want to add to that at all? Any
No,
thoughts?
I think it's important, right? Like, how do you create a niche, and what do you distinguish yourself from the clutter that's out there? And I think what Vineet's team is building is a way to attract those audiences that don't know us and bring them inside. So that is the second part of it, and we have started to do work on that, and we'll see more of new audiences coming in, and we'll be able to measure that.
Wonderful. Well, okay, let's wrap this chat and conversation up by saying thank you, Vineet and Anjali. It's always a pleasure to talk with you about the business and where you're taking the business forward. So thank you for that.